to the diner.
Huh. This is John Paul Wright. I'm coming to you from Tokyo, Japan, and I'm just watching this. It's like 4 a.m. Got up early. Whatever happens, happens. So here we go. Here it is.
Wanted to make sure that my kids were safe when they went to school or when they went to Disneyland or when they went to the mall or whatever. Um, so yes, more security and then just getting followed, by hordes of paparazzi and things like that. It's. I've had worse jobs, certainly. I can't complain about it, but yeah. Uh, After a while, you realize that uh, anonymity has left the building a long time ago. The anonymity's gone, um, and that's an odd thing to deal with um, when you just. I mean, you can't just drive down to the diner and get a cup of coffee or something. It's not possible. It turns into something else altogether. So you know, it's acceptance, and of course there's a bit of sacrifice involved. I can't complain about the work that I've been given. I can't complain about any of that. I have no right to. Um, but it does make you have to think very creatively with when you've got little kids about how to take them to the park or to the swings or to the this or that or movie or it becomes a strategic mission, and that's what happened after Pirates.
Now, you mentioned your family. Who did your family consist of at that time?
Vanessa, Parody, the mother of my children, who we were together for 14, 15 years. Um, Myself, our daughter Lily Rose, and our boy Jack.
Now, you mentioned hiring more security. Did you already have a security team at the time that Pirates of the Caribbean came out?
I'd had, yes, because there'd been more films prior to that. I mean, a number of films prior to that. So uh, I was I was recognized and I was known. So if you wanted to attempt to have any experience that might be normal, you sort of had to have somebody around to get you out of a squirrely situation should it arise. So I had security prior to that for who would travel with myself and my family. Um, but not like when I was at work. I back then I didn't have security at work so much. Not before Pirates. Pirates was really the that was the thing that everything it all turned around. It all just went weird.
So, how did your security team change after Pirates of the Caribbean came out?
Well, like I said, with anything, it become more strategic, and you had to have more guys or gals because um, because if if Vanessa, for example, she worked in France quite a lot, and if she was in France, um, and I was in LA with the kiddies, then um, and working, um, security would uh, security would basically pick my kids up at school or whatever and bring them home. So that became the routine, driving them to school, bringing them home. Um, so yeah, and then if I went somewhere, it just, the security guards kind of multiplied because you needed to protect your street, your house, your kids. Endless.
So after Pirates of the Caribbean, who has been on your security team?
Um, Jerry Judge was with me for, oh boy, over 20 years. Um, Jerry Judge is you, we've mentioned it before. Uh, it was a year or two ago. Jerry would go on film sets with me. He would do reconnaissance missions. That is to say, he would go to a country before we would go there, make sure all the hotel rooms were all taken care of and such. Or when I went on tour with, say, the Hollywood Vampires, which is a band that I've played with, um, he would come on the road with me with another security guard. Uh, so there was Jerry Judge, there was Malcolm Connolly, who's been with me for 20 years or more, Leonard Damian, Sean Bett, um, Travis McGivern, Mark Gibbs. I mean, there are a few.
Are all of these security personnel still with you today?
Jerry has gone on to somewhere else. Jerry passed away from cancer, so Jerry made his exit. Um, but the majority of those, no, I believe all of those fellows are still with me. Yes.
When did Mr. Judge pass away?
I believe it was two years ago, roughly, maybe a little less than 2 years ago.
Now I'd like to go through a couple of the names that you just mentioned. What is Malcolm Conley's purview in the realm of your security team?
What is his role?
Exactly, yes.
Well, now that Jerry Jerry and Malcolm had worked together for a very long time, so I'd met Malcolm through Jerry. After Jerry's passing, Malcolm obviously took over for Jerry, and so he took on extra responsibilities. He would have to make sure that there was someone on the ground wherever we were going that had done their recon, the reconnaissance, and to make sure that everything was set up by the time we got there, and that it would be a straight shot into the hotel without a gaggle of paparazzi. You didn't have to walk through 50 screaming, hollering photographers. So you'd go in through a garage door and through a slippery kitchen, and you were taken to your room where you stayed.
When did Malcolm Conley join your team?
Malcolm had joined. I mean, Jerry brought him on, so Malcolm has been with me for over 20 years now.
And in those 20 years, how often have you physically been present with Malcolm?
With Malcolm?
Yes.
Endless, countless, all over the world. All over the world, everywhere. Los Angeles, Japan, Serbia, films tour. Malcolm was my, when we were on the Vampires tour in Europe, throughout Europe, and Malcolm was on the bus with me. We lived on the bus together, basically.
How often is Malcolm in LA with you?
It depends if there's a, or if there was a larger premiere, where, where it had to be worked out so that it didn't turn into a chaotic or dangerous event, because sometimes there are, between you and the people, there are these barriers, and sometimes the professional photographers or the professional autograph people will surge forward, and in the front rows of these, behind these barriers, you have little kids and older women and older men, and so when the professionals would surge forward, these people would start getting kind of crushed against this metal deterrent, and that was the most worrisome thing when you're at a premiere and there are thousands and thousands of people there, and I've always called it running the gauntlet. Essentially, what it is that people are there to say hi and to support the film or the cast or whatever. So I've always gone out and signed for those people. I've always gone out and signed for all or as many as I possibly could. I mean, to the point of sometimes Jerry Judge would literally pick me up off the ground to make me stop signing, take me away. So yeah, it was those kind of things. Again, you don't really get used to that, you know. Um, so I forget what the original part of your question was. I got lost in the gauntlet.
I'll move on. What about
Well,
Sean Bett? How long is?
You want to go ahead and take a break now? Would that be okay for
That's
afternoon break?
fine. That's
Let's
fine.
Why don't we go ahead and do that? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our afternoon break. Please do, we'll take 15 minutes. Do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research, okay? Thank you.
All right, 15-minute break. So yeah, what's up? I guess I'll just let this run with no volume so I don't miss anything. Okay, what's up, Nicole? What's up, Quicksand? What's up, Goblin? I'm sure there's like people watching like 25 other channels that are streaming this right now. So, just chilling out, seeing what happens. I got about 37 people. Maybe it'll climb up. I see Rob's Rules is um, live streaming this now. I just figured I'd do like a, watch party. I don't know. I just don't care what anyone says or thinks right now. Just listen to what Johnny says and think about it. And I don't know. I just want to think about things really hard before I actually make an opinion. I don't want to just like react and say stuff. And what's the point? You know, like none of us were like actually there. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. It's like 4 a.m. here. What's up, Leslie? Nice to see you. Thank you for all the support on the channel. What's up, Retrogrades? Nice to see you. Mr. Ghostboxer, I think you've been supporting here for a really long time, so thank you so much. Louise, nice to see you. Thank you so much for the membership. And Cindy, thank you so much. And the Goblin Seed, it's not Seed, it's Steed, it's almost Seed. What's up, Eddie? Nice to see you. Get a nice to see you. Says love the channel. I kind of love the channel too, but thank you so much. That makes 2 of us, or 3 of us, or more of us than that. So that's great. Just wearing an eye patch when you're a child makes it hard to accept being looked at for your whole life. Yeah. What's up, Lil Bit? Nice to see you. Thank you so much for the membership. And that's a nice little avatar. Looks like Ariel there with pink hair. So I dig it. That's great. Just give me information about Turd, what she did when JD's talking. What's up, Wookie? Nice to see you. So you could see how now that this case comes out, everyone's covering it. You know, every channel pretty much that's been doing Star Wars and Marvel and things like that is now covering this Johnny Depp case, and they're like, "Oh, looks like Johnny Depp's innocent. Looks like Amber Heard's, a terrible person." They're like 5 years behind. I've been telling so many people that this is going to be a huge case and relevant to like pop culture and you know what's going on now, and people are just like, "Oh, I don't know." But nah, people are catching up now. What's up, Hill? Nice to see you. How are you doing there? So yeah, it's I like it too. I think rebranding is a good thing. I mean, you know, like if you're just stuck on one thing, that could never quite help you grow. So, you know, what's up, Tal King? What's up, Jan? Yeah, it's 4:22 right now. So, yeah, it's 4:22. You said it's 4 in the morning. You're probably hallucinating from. No, I slept actually. I just woke up every 2 hours to check when he was going to be on. So I obviously got up in the middle, but I actually slept, I don't know, about as much as usual. So what's up, Rachel? Thank you so much for that 179 euro super chat. Johnny boy, the moment we've been waiting for. Yeah, man. So what did I miss? Because obviously I just started now and I just came in. He was just talking about like pirates in the movie set. So I don't see exactly what they're getting at with this. I mean, I guess they established that no one else could play Jack Sparrow like he could because he knew the character better than the writers, which is true because he made his own, you know, character out of it and no one could do what he did. So, okay, I see that. So, I don't know. I don't have the whole picture though. I hate to see him so serious. I like to see him being happy and jolly, but I guess there's nothing much to laugh at much at the moment. Hopefully, he will bet her what? Hopefully, he will bet her just desserts. Okay, well, all right. Violent mother, father, staying stoic. All right, so I guess if they're saying if he was abused himself, he would be less likely to abuse somebody. I don't know. I don't think it makes a huge difference, actually. I mean, not sure I've seen anything today. Then his father left his mother, and she had a depression. Okay, okay, all right. So I guess I'll be able to stream this for another hour and a half, but I might get cut off sometime in the middle. But whatever happens, happens. And I'll probably have somebody in my house wake up at some point. But yeah, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's really, really terrible living in this time zone, man. Because right when I'm gonna go to sleep, the whole thing's kind of getting kicked off. Like the thing starts at 11 p.m. for me. I wake up at 6:15 every day. So if I start it at 11, I could watch like 2 hours and get like 5 hours of sleep. But the whole thing goes for like 6 or 7 hours. So I really can't cover the case. I mean, effectively. I could do stuff obviously during the day and cover all kind of things going around, but I can't actually cover the actual court case. But I don't think it matters so much because there's like so many people doing it. There's got to be, I don't know, hundreds if not thousands of channels streaming it. So I don't think it makes a big difference anyway. I might be better off just doing videos about it, not even worrying about the actual context, which like everyone and their mother's watching anyway. So he told her created he told how he created Edward Scissorhands and Jack's. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, I'm just not seeing how that's like directly relevant. I guess they just want to build up a history of him. They said Amber's sitting there, not blinking. I haven't seen her though. Harry created his version of these characters. How to act, I mean. Okay, yeah, no, I kind of got that idea, but um, I'm just trying to think of how it's relevant and why they asked that and what they're building up to and what they want the jury to think about the situation, the abuse, knowing about how he created those characters. Seems like it's not like totally irrelevant point, but okay, I mean, whatever. Nice to know. Kind of interesting. All right, so I guess I'll be back in like 15 minutes. They want people to realize what, okay, yeah. All right, fair enough. I mean, that's fine and everything, but I mean, I guess it's like basically apparent what he lost. Like, even if he lost something that wasn't like really super special to him or super important to him, he lost a huge, major financial role that was making him super famous. And that's really all people need to know. I guess it's nice to put some emotion and, some personality behind it, sure, but I don't know. Obviously, everything's relevant, but I'm just thinking like how directly that connects to it. And there are, I think, possibly better ways to spend the time. And of course, mention that. But I don't know how long they got into that. I mean, I came in now, so I don't know. I don't know. But I do know I got to make a coffee at some point. Let's see. Oh, they have the comments off. That's interesting. Yeah, they have the comments and the live stream turned off. I wonder why. No, I didn't. I'll have to get one when he comes back on so there's something to watch. So it's just not like a blank screen with that Virginia thing. But I don't know. So let's see. Her side will probably say that because he is such a good actor, he can make anyone believe anything he says. So how do they not know he's acting now? Nah, I don't think they're gonna make that argument. I mean, he seems genuine, and honestly, if someone's a great actor, then they're a great actor, and you just gotta take what they say at face value and how they're saying it. You can't always assume people are acting, or they could just be acting, their whole life or anything, anytime, or whatever. So I don't think that's gonna really come up. Plus, I got this terrible cold, so well, it's not actually terrible cold, it's allergies. Just sneezing all the time. Sneezing all the time. I was supposed to have Josh here, but you know, I fell asleep, and oh well, maybe next time. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, most of the comments are, pretty controlled. I don't really see infighting and things like that. I mean, most people are just for Johnny, and you know, they're just kind of rooting for people. I don't see really too much like name calling and, you know, hate for Amber. Whoop here, hate for Amber. I guess there's like a little bit of that, but not too much. So I don't know. I can make the screen bigger. I hate this bottle. This bottle back here. I hate this thing. Wait, here it is. Here it is. We're going live. We're moving a bottle. Gotta get rid of this. What the hell is this, man? Ugh. Laura B, I wouldn't know what work feels like. Well, that's not a bad thing. Work feels like something you don't want to do, and you'd rather be somewhere else, and every minute you're doing it, you hate it. So it's not a bad thing. Well, not every work, but sometimes. I'm going to say this, if it's considered work, then to a certain extent you don't enjoy it, I guess. Like you can enjoy work, but then I don't know, that's like different than work, if you get what I'm saying. All right, thanks, Nicole. I'm sure there's going to be people jumping around. Like I said, I'm sure there's probably got to be hundreds of channels streaming this. So, you know, whatever happens here. And I'm just pretty much watching it. I'm not trying to like have this live that's entertaining and you come here and you get my opinion because I'm awesome. Just watch the thing. That's it really. I guess if I was a lawyer, I'd have something to say. But if you're just like some YouTuber, okay, what are you gonna say? Even if you've made like me like 1,000 videos on it, it's just not too much to add really. Like some channels have like watch parties they call them, and they just like put on a movie and they all just kind of sit around and watch it. So I figured this is kind of supposed to be like a watch party. Obviously during breaks people can talk, but I've been told that some YouTubers were talking over people testifying, and that's a no-no. That's bad. Sorry, whoever's doing it, just cut it out. These are like supposed to be watch party type stuff. you know yeah, you guys know I say too much, but nothing I could do about it. Been doing it for like 3 years, so I just keep saying and I guess it's annoying. Annoying. But yeah, I mean, yesterday, to be honest, was like kind of boring. It was just like Dr. Kipper was kind of important with the testimony about the finger, but I just kind of wish I slept yesterday, like the whole night, like went to sleep with my kids, and then had all the energy tonight. So when I find out Amber's gonna testify, yeah, I'll just like sleep that whole night. I won't do anything. But I didn't know Johnny was gonna testify till after I stayed up for that live with Dr. Kipper, which wasn't like so great. I mean, it's all good if you know what I'm saying, but he's a little dull, sounds kind of bad, and I don't know. This was like a much better one to use some energy on. Still sore, but gets better every day. So, yep. Just waiting. Come on, get back. 15 minutes. So I take 15. Then I guess I'll come back for like another hour or two or something. And, I guess I'll just let my kids wake up and come on the stream for a minute. I'm just so paranoid about the YouTube, what's it called? They have like these safe for kids rules. So I think it's okay to have kids in your video. I see people do it all the time at this point, but they've got those COPPA rules, which means you have to say something's made for kids if the thing can appeal to kids. And I guess if kids are in the video, technically it can appeal to other kids, but I guess I see Rob doing it. I see other YouTubers doing it, so I guess I'm good. But I don't know. I guess I could like check Twitter while I'm waiting. I mean, why not? I'll do a real live until this comes back. Let's see, can I share 2 screens at once? No, I can't share. Fuck it. No Twitter. I can't share 2 screens at once, so I figured, nah, what the hell? What the hell? Who knows what happens every day on court? Well, they know like a little ahead of time. Sometimes they'll publish who's going to testify. So I found out Johnny was testifying after I did that live with who, Dr. Kipper. Laura B, it can be annoying. That's what I take of the house cleaning and go to the park to get some fresh air and get away from the busy, noisy city. Yeah. Well, I live in the busy, noisy city and I don't really hear it anymore. I think you just kind of get used to it. But I do have some flowers and I don't know how much I like these. They might be a little too feminine for me, just saying. And then I got like this grasslands here. And I got the clouds, which is my typical. And I got the sea turtle. And I guess we'll go with that for now. What's up, Apple Pie Laura? Nice to see you. We're just waiting for Johnny to come back. Well, actually, what I can do. Yeah, I mean, look, it was important. Yesterday was important because they had to talk about the finger and everything, but I don't know. Giants team turn it wrong way. What do you mean by that? I know I was kind of wondering myself, like why they're talking so much about the acting and what the movie meant to him and things like that, but I don't know. If most extreme left and right. Yeah, man. I gotta say, Elon Musk is saying some really great things, but yeah, yeah. I mean, he slept with Amber Heard, so obviously, that's gonna be a terrible thing. But when he says stuff like this, I really, really like it, right? Like, a social media platform's policies are good if the most extreme 10% on the left and right are equally unhappy. So what he's saying is that, the left isn't unhappy on Twitter. The left isn't really getting censored and they're able to say whatever they want, but the right isn't. The right is going to get banned for saying certain things, which they have been, and making certain jokes, especially about transgenders and things like that. And that's one of the reasons that Elon Musk wants to actually, um, you know, kind of buy into or buy Twitter. So I don't think he's after Johnny fans at all, like 0%. I don't think he cares. I think he doesn't really want to get involved, and I think we're back here. Okay, let's see.
All right. Okay. You can have a seat, sir. All right, your next question.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to just briefly go through the security personnel that you just listed out before we took a break. How long has Leonard Damian been with you?
My kids are now 20, 23. Leonard Damian's been with me, I believe, roughly the same time as Mr. Bett, somewhere in the neighborhood of 16, 17 years. Yeah, I can't be precise, but they were very young. My children were very young when they joined the team, which was really after Pirates was released in 2003, the first.
Now, you mentioned your children. What is Mr. Damian's role with respect to your children's security?
Excuse me?
You mentioned your children
Yes.
with respect to Leonard Damian. Is his role in connection with your children's security?
Yes, very much so. Leonard, Leonard Damian and Sean Bett for quite a while were both sort of assigned, as it were, to my kids, taking them to school, picking them up from school if Vanessa and I were unable to do it, or even if we were there, we would drive with them to take the kids to school. And over the years, obviously, your children, my children have taken quite a shine to them, and they've become like another set of parents in a way.
And how long has Travis McGivern been with you?
Travis, I believe, a little bit less than that, I believe. I couldn't really speculate. It's a little less, maybe it's 13 years, or I don't know.
Now, you mentioned that you had to bring on additional security after Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes.
How has the fame associated with that franchise affected your personal relationships?
Um, Again, I would never complain about the repercussions, let's say, or yeah, the repercussions of um, the success of that film. Um, but of course, as I said, there are sacrifices that one one has to make. Um, Sacrifices that you're not nearly ready for. Um, just simply when you check into when you go to a town, or you go on a press tour or something, and you're staying in a hotel. People stay in hotels all the time. I stay. I stay in the hotel. We've found that it's just a lot easier if I stay put in a hotel and not kind of, again, especially if it's with the kids or something. I don't want them to. I've never wanted them to see me as a novelty. I just wanted to be dad. You know. Now they're well aware of a lot, and they're well aware of pretty much everything. Um, but no, you know, when you get recognized wherever you go, um, the basic truth is it's pretty simple. People are generally kind and curious, and if you've if they've grown up with you in their living room, from a television series or from various films that they've seen, um, there's nothing menacing about being recognized. Sometimes there can be. Sometimes people can get weird, and but we've found that it's just it's better all around if I stay in my hotel room and don't go out to too many restaurants or anything, because it generally causes a bit of a hubbub. If you go to a restaurant, someone calls the paparazzi, and you go in for a meal and you come out and there's 30 guys out there. It can be a little overwhelming. It's not something, I think I said it before, it's not something that it's not something that I've ever gotten used to, and it's something that I hope I never get used to. Because I don't think of myself in those terms. I used to be Johnny, if that makes sense. I used to be Johnny, and then my name, full name, which I honestly still it's difficult, it's uncomfortable to say my own name, because when I say it, I hear the commodity, I hear the product. So I went from Johnny to Johnny Depp, and then that name, with that name, Johnny Depp, and some image was cultivated. Certainly not by me, but the media, especially in those days, they must label you. They have to give you a label. And labels are one of the things that I've fought vigorously with regard to my work. I never wanted to be the poster boy. I never wanted to be the. I don't have, I'm not built with that kind of hubris. I don't have that kind of confidence. I can do virtually anything playing a character. I can become the character in my work, and that character may be able to spit out 100 words a minute, but me, myself, Johnny, I cannot. So therein lies the difference,
Mr. Depp, other than acting, what other artistic pursuits do you have that may be a little less known to the general public?
Well, I've remained a musician. I've been a musician. I started playing the guitar when I was 12 years old, and that saved my life, because I locked myself into in my bedroom at the age of 12, listening to records, moving the needle back, and then learning that piece, and then learning it again. So so much so that I don't remember. I have no memory of going through puberty. I was just playing the guitar. I was obsessed with my guitar.
Any other artistic pursuits?
I've always drawn since I was very small, since I was very little, and always enjoyed drawing, and then began to paint, and so there started learning about painting and trying to I suppose different ways of expressing oneself, different ways to release the things that are living in your head, whether they be beautiful memories, whether they be horrific memories, whether they be I have I need to create. It's a need. It's a. Of course, I want to create as well, but I actually need to create, because I need to summon whatever it is that I need to summon, to whether that's within a film or a painting or a guitar note. All of those things should come from a place of an organic place, a place of truth. Because if they don't, well, then you're just lying, aren't you? Every bit of truth, a person doesn't have to say anything on film. What's important is what's behind the eyes. And if they do say something, what's important is not necessarily the words that they say. It's very easy to say, I love you, but what brings it into the realm of truth is what's underneath it, what's not being said, the subtext, if you will. So, any artistic or creative venture, any film, anything that I do, that's where I'm coming from. That's my approach.
Mr. Depp, you mentioned words, and I think the jury has already seen some words that you've written in text messages.
Yes,
Can you please tell the jury a little bit about how you write?
certainly. When I was young, when I was about 12 years old, my elder brother, Danny, walked into my room and ripped the Peter Frampton record off my record player, threw it across the room, and said, "You got to stop listening to this stuff." And he put this record on, and it started, and I'd never heard anything like it. It was called Astral Weeks by Van Morrison. So I'm a kid, 12 years old. So my brother had turned me on to Van Morrison, then he turned me on to soundtracks like Clockwork Orange or Last Tango in Paris. He turned me on to books by Jack Kerouac. He turned me on to books by Ginsberg, Philip K. Dick. I mean, Salinger. I mean, the whole James Joyce, the whole Hemingway, the whole thing. So, so I became very interested in vocabulary and the unique voices of these writers. And then I started reading people like Tom Robbins and Hunter S. Thompson, and then ended up becoming very close friends with Hunter Thompson for the last 10, 12 years of his life. And Hunter's writing, of course, because of the amount I spent, of time I spent with him, it has influenced my writing greatly. Hunter was known for inventing a thing called gonzo journalism, which is, it's the author putting himself in the situation, as opposed to writing it from the author's point of view. He writes it with him in it. And there are great embellishments, and embellishments are great sort of ways that he would twist things and express his feelings, and so he became a huge hero, of course, to me, and a great friend. I in my texts and in my emails, or sometimes just even in my writing, you take the subject and you try to express it in your own vernacular, and in that, for example, with the text messages that I apologize that everyone's had to experience. I am ashamed of some of the references made. I'm embarrassed that at the time, the heat of the moment, the heat of the pain that I was feeling, went to dark places. There is no, if you're writing, there is no set place that you have to stay in. You can travel. And sometimes pain has to be dealt with humor. And sometimes dark, very dark humor. I grew up watching Monty Python, so yes, it can tend to get into dark humor. It can tend to get words are used that for emphasis, and words are used to express what you're feeling at the time, and it's just like growing up. You learn from those mistakes, you learn from those things, and you move forward, you know. And that's how you start to understand your own vernacular and what's important, what's necessary and what's not necessary. I tend to be quite expressive in my writing, and after after the uh, after the unfortunate words of Ms. Heard, made their way into my heart and my head. Those are two very opposing things. So you're trying to you're trying to find the best way to express something to a friend. Sometimes you're exaggerating, something that you've done, um, um, just to make it sound, just to make him understand that, I'm on planet question mark here. I don't know what's going on, but I know I'm in this situation, and I know that it cannot continue.
Mr. Depp, the jury's heard quite a bit from Ms. Heard's side about your drug and alcohol use, but I'm sure they'd like to hear from you. So could you please just tell them about your history of substance use?
Certainly. Again, this goes back to when I was a young boy. Excuse me. At about the age of, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, I can remember vividly my mom telling me to go get her nerve pills, out of her purse that was hanging on the back of the door. So I'd go get the nerve pills, and I'd bring her the nerve pill. She'd take it, and after a few years, you start to notice well, you start to think about nerve pills, nerve pills. And then she seemed to calm down after she took those nerve pills. So when I was 11 years old, um, I wanted to calm down, and I didn't know how to. So I'd bring my mom her nerve pill. I would walk away, and I would take one myself, um, to escape caring so much, feeling so much, to escape the the chaotic, um, nature of what we were living through. Um, so that was the beginning when I realized that nerve pills calm the nerves. Um, Pretty young age to do that. I can't say that I'm proud of admitting to that, but I have to say that I knew not what else to do. I knew nothing else that I could do. Um, so as we were all growing up, there was always those kids who would say, "Let's party. Let's go party. I want to party." I've never used the word party in my life. I've never I've never taken any substance for a party. I have taken these substances over the years, on and off, um, to numb myself of of uh, of the ghosts, the wraiths that were still with me, and from my youth. So it, I needed, yeah, they were everything. It was essentially, it was just self-medication. Um, One of those get me out of here moments, and where you want to escape from is your own brain, your own head.
How often have you used substances throughout your life?
Having started with my mother's nerve pills at 11, of course, that's around the age that you're introduced to marijuana. You're introduced to, and also depending on where you're living and who you're associating with and who's around the neighborhood. Um, I No, I wasn't shy to uh, try a substance for to see if the effect of it would maybe even take a bit more of the edge off. So I started at 11, and I mean, I even mentioned this in an interview in TV Guide, if anyone remembers TV Guide, in 1989, where I was asked by the journalist why I believed that kids who were watching the show 21 Jump Street about police officers in school undercover cops, but as students. I was asked why these kids or whoever should believe me or trust me or listen to me, and I said, look, I could because I've experienced it, and I can tell them that there is no future in it, that there's nothing but a kind of a postponing of the inevitable. That one day you're going to have to face those feelings. One day you will meet those, let's call them demons, from your youth. Um, so I was straight up, open and honest at that time in a very, I mean, TV Guide was it was right at the register when you checked out at the grocery store. It was like the most popular thing, and it was a very straight magazine, little magazine. But I told them I'd pretty much done all the drugs that I was aware of by the time I was 15 years old, um, and which was true. Um, Now, that doesn't mean to say that I continued into that, forest of possibilities with regard to substances. Um, I wasn't um, dropping acid every 5 minutes. I wasn't. There were many years that I didn't touch a substance and no drugs. There were many years that I didn't have a drink. So as I said, it's never been for the sort of party effect. It's been for trying to numb the things inside that have that plague that can plague someone's uh, who's experienced trauma. Um, but the characterization um, of the characterization of my substance, quote unquote, substance abuse, um, that's been delivered by Ms. Heard is uh, is grossly embellished, um, and I'm sorry to say, but a lot of it is just plainly false. I think that it was easy. It was an easy. Uh, I think it was an easy target for her to hit, because once you've trusted somebody for a certain amount of years and you've told them all the secrets of your life, um, that information then, of course, can be used against you, especially if it's taken to a point that is teetering on impossible, and teeters over impossible, in fact, at times. It's so I am not um, some maniac who needs um, to be high or loaded all the time. In fact, in Australia, from before Australia and in Australia, I had been off of alcohol for, I believe it was about 18 months.
Mr. Depp, you've mentioned some periods of sobriety throughout your life. How many would you estimate you've had?
Quite a number. On various films, you see. Um, I suppose, I guess maybe by example, if anyone's, well, if you're familiar with Hunter Thompson's book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I was lucky enough to make into a film with Terry Gilliam. The film calls for myself and my attorney to be absolutely blotto out of our heads constantly throughout the film. And most people just assume that, well, they just got wasted and they filmed them. There would have been no way you couldn't act that. You couldn't, I mean, you couldn't make that film with two actors who were loaded. There would be no way. And then to the other extreme, Donnie Brasco, a film that I made about an FBI agent. I had to go into a training regime where I had to eat 5 meals a day, drink 5 shakes a day, these protein shakes per day, work out 3 to 4 hours a day because I had to gain 20 to 30 pounds of muscle. There was certainly no abuse of substances then. There's been no abuse of substances on film sets. There have been there's been no moments where I would have been considered out of control. Never. In fact, it's not been mentioned that I'm sure they don't want to mention it, but I remember that because when I was with Ms. Heard and her friends, and we were all drinking wine, and I smoking marijuana, they used to tease me because of what they sort of said was a ludicrous tolerance, because I never appeared loaded or high or any of that. Even if I felt a little spinny, no one would have ever known.
Mr. Depp, is there any substance that you've ever been addicted to?
Yes.
And what is that?
Roxycodone or Roxycontin, which is it's an opiate. It's I think oxycodone has the opiate and then some pain like paracetamol or something, and then the Roxys are just the opiate, as far as I remember. And when I was working on Pirates 4, and there was a scene in which I had to grab this large gold and red, stately gilt chair, pick it up and chuck it out this big giant window. And so I did it, and as I swung around to throw the chair out the window, I felt this immediate electricity from the bottom of my spine down my left leg, and it was like an electricity that burned. So I had obviously it was sciatica, so I had obviously pinched something, done something. So I went to I saw a chiropractor or a kine or whatever. I saw chiropractors and to no avail. Then I saw a doctor and the only pain medication that she recommended and prescribed to me was roxycodone. Um, and there was a part of me that was a little bit worried, just in the sense that I know I've witnessed friends and people over the years who have who've had problems with heroin, and I didn't want to get bit by that snake, and I started taking the Roxys, and I was bit by the snake, and then before you know it, that monkey is on your back to stay. And it's not like you take those pills to get high. You take them to once the addiction has grabbed hold of you. You're not taking those pills to get high. You're taking those pills to get uh, well, or to get better. Because if you're without the pill, your body will start to go into various you'll withdrawals, and so I was on the Roxy's for a number of years, 4 or 5 years, I think, maybe more. I don't know, but um, the key was that I if you take two, you will be what they call on the nod. You will be that. You will just drop into sleep. Um, uh, so yes, I didn't like being dependent on these pills. I didn't like being dependent on on a drug that would you take only so you wouldn't get withdrawals. That's what it becomes. It's like a junkie. The, the reason why so many, well, now there's a huge fentanyl problem, but the reason why junkies generally, why they end up overdosing is because they're looking for the first high again. And you don't get that. You don't get your first high again. So what do? You up the stakes and you put more, you take more. And that's what makes that's what makes things go dark for them, because they overestimated the amount that their body could tolerate, and they go blue and they die. So yeah, didn't want that.
Mr. Depp, do you have an estimate as to what year you started taking the opiates that you just described?
When 2000, or excuse me, it was Pirates. Bless you. 4, I believe. Pirates 4. No, it was Pirates 4. Rob Marshall directed it. I don't know what year that was. Maybe. I actually don't. I have no idea what year that was.
Was it before you were in a relationship with Miss Heard?
Yes, I believe so.
And you didn't and you detoxed from those opiates during your relationship with Miss Heard. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, so of course, yes. So they must have, yeah, they did come around prior to my meeting Miss Heard.
After you detoxed from the opiates, have you ever taken any opiates ever again?
No, I can't. That's no. Once you've been bit, you'll be bit again. So no, with any, I mean, even with my finger, uh, I think that it was like Motrin 800, you know, but no opiates. No, I have not taken an opiate since, and I won't unless I plan on going through the hell of the pure horror of detoxing, of coming off those drugs. No.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to now turn to your relationship with Miss Heard. Can you please tell the jury how you met Miss Heard?
Mhm. Um, 2000, in around 2008, Hunter Thompson and I were going through some of his manuscripts of his books that have been published, and then I found this manuscript in one of his boxes, and it was called The Rum Diary, and I had heard about it, and I knew it was what they called his long lost novel. In fact, the only novel he ever wrote. Um, and I showed it to him, and Hunter was shocked. My God, that's where it is, you know. And so he said, "Read me some." So I started reading this to him, and he said, "This is a movie, you know. We must produce this together." And you know, he got all excited about the idea of doing that. So we went right into it, and we started to set up meetings to get to get money, financing to develop the project, and we finally ended up getting the money to develop the project and to make the film. Hunter, um, uh, from his own um, dilemmas in his life, um, uh, committed suicide, and but having had long talks with him, I knew every angle of the book, but I knew every angle of the film that he wanted, which was going to be a bit different than the book. And Bruce Robinson, who was a great writer director, directed a film called With Nail and I and How to Get Ahead in Advertising, was the one director that Hunter and I talked about. And so I went to Bruce, who was a friend of mine, and I ripped him out of retirement because he never wanted to direct another film again. I pulled him out of retirement after 27 years, and he agreed to write the screenplay and direct the film. And we proceeded. During the auditioning process, um, Bruce was, before that, Hunter had very specific ideas of what these characters should be. Bruce had been auditioning girls or women for the role of Chenault in the film, and there were this sort of this starlets that were up and coming, and or there were some that were well known and things of that nature, but you know, one of the things that Hunter was very against was stunt casting. That is to say, put a bunch of very famous people in a movie and we'll let them go, and then hope for the money in the end. So Bruce had asked me. He said he had been auditioning uh, this one particular actress named Amber Heard. Um, he said that he'd auditioned her 5 times, and he wasn't sure about her capabilities as an actress with regard to the film and the character and taking direction and that sort of thing. So he asked me if I would read with her for the film, and I had already met a number of actresses and things. And so what I said to Mr. Robinson is, I said, Bruce, I don't. If you've auditioned her 5 times, you've seen the best and the worst, I suppose. So me putting her, this girl, in an uncomfortable situation, saying, hey, all right, let's read this, I think it's a far better idea that we just meet so that I can see how she behaves, see how she reacts, because that's really all it is: reaction, behavior, and you don't have to push anything else, So they made an appointment. She came to my office. I took one look at her and I thought, yep, that's the Chenault that Hunter wants. That's the one. I thought, yeah, she could definitely kill me. That's what Hunter wants. And so we spoke, and she was sweet as pie, pleasant, again, intelligent, literate, very good taste. And I felt like what I felt and what I told Bruce was, look, when you put someone in a situation that they're obviously going to feel under pressure, it's not the best way to really know what they're capable of. And I made suggestions such as, and which I ended up making to Ms. Heard. I made suggestions of films that might give her some insight into what we were looking for in terms of the film, which is to say, I gave her films like To Have and Have Not, and things of that nature, because I wanted to. There was something very important that I felt she needed to know about stillness, as opposed to, going broad or acting a little too much. So I felt like I could be a bit of a traffic cop in that sense, so that, because if we could connect, then it could work, as long as there was truth in her eyes, and as long as there was truth coming out of her dialogue, then it's all in the editing. So I felt that I could help her with that idea of stillness, and so that's when I first met Miss Heard.
How would you describe your interactions with Miss Heard when you worked together on the Rum Diary?
Initially, well, yeah, no, mostly very, very, very few interactions. Um, I remember there was a time I wasn't working that day, but I was producing, one of the producers of the film, and it was a scene from the book that that was it was a it was a scene where Ms. Heard's character was in a nightclub and were amongst the locals, and she's very drunk, and everybody's very drunk, and she ends up dancing with a few of the local, like one of the local guys and stuff, and then the other local guys start to sort of close in on her. In the book and in the screenplay, as it was written, there was she there was a a requirement for nudity um, for the part, and I was on set the day that they were shooting that, and as I was watching the crowd coming in on her, I realized, you know what? Because I would check on Ms. Heard and say, "Are you all right? Are you sure you're okay?" Because this is, she was like, "No, no, I'm fine, fine, fine." But I realized that with the crowd surging in towards her, that we wouldn't have to do the nudity, because if she took her shirt off and she had a red bra on and a skirt, then if she had a red bra in her hand, when the crowd surged in on her, all she had to do was lift the red bra up out of the crowd, and there's no nudity, but it's certainly implied, because then the character disappears for a few days, um, and she's quite a wreck when she comes back because bad things have happened to her. So I remember telling Ms. Heard, "Hey, you don't have to, you don't have to take your clothes off. You don't have to take your top off. You don't have to. Everything's cool." Um, and she was appreciative. Um, and but other than that, we didn't really um, have much interaction until there was a scene where I'm taking a shower, and then she comes into the room and she opens the shower, and we kiss. And that moment was, it was, yeah, it was, it felt like something, um, it felt like something that I shouldn't be feeling, because she had her wife, and even though it was a scene, and she had her wife, and I had Vanessa and kitties, and um, yeah.
When would you say your romantic relationship with Miss Heard actually began, if not in that moment?
Well, I think there was something in the kiss in the shower that was very real. Um, so that day after work, Miss Hood had come to my trailer, and I was just sitting there listening to actually old blues stuff, and we had a glass of wine, and um, and and we kissed. Um, and at that point, my trailer was the only trailer in the parking lot. Um, she had a mind to stay in the trailer there for a while with me, and I didn't think that was a very good idea on any level, especially since there were about 9 Teamsters waiting to move the trailer. Um, and then that was that until to, till whenever we did the first day of the press junket for the Rum Diary in Los Angeles 2 years later, and she had broken up, I believe, with her wife, and my for lack of a well, my wife, we weren't married, but she was, of course, my wife, Vanessa. Um, we had some not so great situations, you know. She wanted, she needed, she was stuck in America. She wanted to go back to France. She wanted to have her life back. She's a well-known singer there. And that's not long out. Yeah, right around then is when Miss Heard and I started to see each other here and there occasionally.
Between the end of the filming of Rum Diary and the press junket, did you and Miss Heard communicate at any time in between?
Mm, I don't remember. I remember that there was a white dress that she really was infatuated with. That she really loved this dress that she wore in the film, and so I went to Colleen Atwood, the costume designer, and to Bruce, and I said, "Do you think we can snag this white dress and send it to Amber, you know, after she'd wrapped, because she loved the thing." Um, I remember talking to her, I think, then, but briefly.
What did you like about Miss Heard when you first started your romantic relationship?
She seemed to be she seemed to be the um, she seemed to be the perfect uh, partner in a sense in my head and for me, because she, as I said, she seemed to be very knowledgeable about old obscure blues music that I listened to and really liked. Um, she was literate. She was uh, sweet, funny, nice, all those things, you know. And she was, and from the beginning of our relationship at that time, for a good year and a half, um, she was wonderful. And then things just started to change, or things started to reveal themselves. That's, I think, is a better way to put it.
You mentioned earlier in your testimony that Miss Heard would take off your boots when you would get home from work. What other types of behaviors did you observe in Miss Heard early in the relationship?
Little things that you would kind of, that it would just, you'd question in the back of your mind, you know, if if she wanted to go to bed, I'd say, oh, well, I can't sleep, you know, right now. And rather than go and just lay in a bed and stare at the ceiling, I would say, you know, I'll just watch, I'll be either watching TV or hanging out. And that was just not acceptable. Just not acceptable. It would stir up some rather unusual reactions from her. I didn't understand why I, as a 50-something-year-old man, was not allowed to go to sleep when I wanted to, as opposed to when she wanted to. It started out with little things like that. And again, they just, they eventually, they just, I suppose like anything, if they're allowed to continue, then they are allowed to grow. They're allowed to blossom into whatever they're going to become.
What were you and Miss Heard's nicknames for each other?
I called her Slim.
Why is that?
I called her Slim because of the film that I had given her to watch, like about, in terms of stillness, was Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart. And I called her Slim and she called me Steve, which was Lauren Bacall's and Humphrey Bogart's nicknames for each other in the film. That was their names in the film. And it you know, it wasn't lost on me, the fact that there was an age difference, and that my God, when when Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, that's when they met on that film. He was 45 years old and she was 19, and they stayed together until Bogart passed away. So, yeah, there was a kind of a joke, not joke, but just yeah, I acknowledge the fact that I was the old craggy bogey and she was this um, um, beautiful um, creature, just this stunning creature.
When did you first meet Miss Heard's parents?
I first met Miss Heard's parents when they had come out to Los Angeles, I believe, and yeah, and I feel like that I met them. I think they came to my place, to my studio, and they were two completely opposite end of the spectrum people. Paige was she was an angel. She was an angel, and I loved her very much. I loved her instantly, and we had a very good relationship. Her father, David, was the opposite end of that. He was this outrageous kind of almost like a cartoon cowboy, you know. And he was, the initial thought, I mean, my initial kind of definition for David would have been rascally, like a rascal, you know. Um, but I, I loved, I mean, I grew to love them both very much, as well as uh, her sister Whitney. And yes, it felt like I had been welcomed into some sort of family. I had been accepted into this family, and those relationships stayed solid until just a bit after we'd separated.
How often did you spend time with Miss Heard's parents during your relationship with Miss Heard?
Quite a lot. Whether I used to have a boat, um, and we would take her parents, her family, and we'd go sail the boat and, you know, drop anchor at the island, and we would spend a week, 2 weeks, whatever, on the boat on the island. Also, they would come to Los Angeles quite a bit. We also would go to Austin here and there to see them, visit them. Every year we would, on their anniversary, I had a friend of mine who had a restaurant in Austin, like a very good restaurant in Austin, and I'd call him up and basically basically set it up so that every year on their anniversary they could just go there, and and they'd be taken care of, and there would be no bill, so they could just celebrate. And I think one of the things we did was, yes, we would try to order them car so that they could drink. Um, no, I was very fond of them, very fond of them.
Now, you mentioned Miss Heard's sister, Whitney. When did you first meet Whitney?
I don't remember exactly when I met Whitney the first time, but I felt when I first met Whitney, there was something in what I saw of Whitney that was much less confident than Amber. Much more revealing of insecurities. Um, uh,
Objection, Your Honor, just foundation. What he
All right.
saw in Whitney.
I think if you can answer the question.
Okay.
You want to ask the question again?
We can move on.
Okay, that's fine.
How would you describe your relationship with Whitney?
Great. I mean, fantastic. I called her sis. I loved her, you know. I had always felt something, I'd always felt like Whitney had missed out on something.
Same objection.
All right.
We can move on.
Okay, thanks.
Where was Whitney living when you and Miss Heard first started your relationship?
She was living with her then boyfriend, Sean Krajewski.
Was this in the same, where was Miss Heard living when you first started your relationship?
Miss Hurd had informed me that she just moved to a new place on Orange Avenue,
What city is that in?
Los Angeles, sorry, yeah.
And was Whitney also living in Los Angeles?
Whitney was living in Los Angeles, yes, with Sean Krajewski and, yeah.
So how often would you see Whitney when you and Miss Heard were in a relationship?
Oh, a lot. Whitney would come over all the time with her boyfriend for dinners and such. Miss Heard always liked having people over, for dinner parties and social kind of events at her place.
Have you ever done any drugs with Whitney?
Yes,
How often would you do that?
with Whitney,
Yes, with Whitney.
maybe three times, maybe twice, 3 times.
Did there come a time when Whitney moved into the penthouses that you owned at the Eastern Columbia building?
Yes.
And when was that?
I don't remember exactly when it was, but I do remember that it was after Rocky Pennington and yes, I believe Josh Drew was there already as well. Whitney, I can't remember why she needed a place, but she needed a place, so we gave her penthouse 4 to live in.
And how long did she live there for?
Oh boy, on and off for, I suppose, a couple of years.
And how much rent did you charge her?
Uh, Nothing.
Now, you said you did drugs a couple times with Whitney. What drugs were you doing with Whitney?
Whitney and I had done a line or two of cocaine together.
When did you start getting introduced to Miss Heard's friends after you started your relationship with her?
Almost immediately. Well, in fact, immediately, yeah. Immediately. I was introduced to the whole gang, Rocky, Io, Brittany Eustace, Whitney, certainly. Who else? That's all that comes to mind at the moment.
No, you mentioned Rocky. Who is that specifically?
Raquel Pennington, who was Miss Heard's good friend from youth, I suppose.
And I think you mentioned Brittany Eustace as well. Who is that?
Brittany Eustace was just one of the gals, she was one of the gals, and she was quite bubbly and funny and real sweet girl, southern girl. I haven't seen her in. I think that something went sideways between Brittany Eustace and the girls because she suddenly just disappeared from the group.
And when was that?
We were probably a year and a half or maybe two, no, 2 years into the relationship, 3 years maybe.
And I believe you mentioned someone named Io. Who is that?
Io Tillett Wright was a friend of Ms. Heard's from New York City who was uh, who had identified as she was born a female, if that's the right terminology these days, born a female, but she was she had chosen um, she at a very young age she had decided that she was a male and she identified as a male. Um, and Io seemed to be again. She was she was very intelligent, very literate, um, kind of a go get 'em kind of activist type, and she was writing a book. I remember she was writing a book. Io, or he was writing a book, rather, and I had a house on one of my on Sweetser. One of the houses there was empty, and it was in fact a house that I'd set up to write in. And when she had no place uh, to stay or go, whatever, I called her over and I showed her the house, you know, where the desk was and all the things. And so I said, write your book, you know, write your book here. So she did.
Did Io end up living in that house or just working there?
No, Io ended up. No, she ended up living in the house for somewhere in the neighborhood of a year, I guess, somewhere about a year.
And how much rent did you charge to Io?
Nothing.
And did there also come a time when Rocky moved into the penthouses at the Eastern Columbia building?
Rocky moved into penthouse 2.
And do you recall when that was?
Oh no, penthouse 1. Sorry, penthouse 1. That was not long after Miss Heard and I started to begin to dress that place up as our residence. So it wasn't very long after that at all that Rocky came. I had already had my friend Isaac, who you've met, Isaac Baruch, painter. I had already given him penthouse 2 to stay in and live in and paint in because he'd just come back from Florida and his mom had passed away and I think he had about $3 in his pocket. So I gave him the penthouse and asked him if he had enough paint, and so he lived there.
Why did Rocky move into the penthouses?
Objection, foundation,
Mm,
I'll overrule foundation.
and hearsay. The question potentially calls for
Well,
hearsay.
I'll overrule that.
Go ahead, Mr. Depp.
why did, sorry, what was it again?
Why did Rocky end up moving into the penthouses?
She ended up moving into the penthouses. I don't recall. I believe it was something to do with just not having a place. And Amber had asked if I would be okay with, Rocky moving in. And I said, of course. The penthouse is empty. I wasn't in the, I wasn't going to be renting them out necessarily anyway, they were for friends to come and stay. Penthouse 4, in fact, was initially planned out for my sister Christy to have an escape from her 3,000 grandchildren and the amount of workload that she had taken on at the company.
How long did Miss Pennington end up staying in the penthouses?
Longer than I did.
And how much rent did you charge to Miss Pennington?
Nothing.
Did anyone live with Miss Pennington in the penthouses?
Yes, her fiance or boyfriend and fiance Josh Drew. And then at a certain point, I learned that there was another female living there who I wasn't sure who that was. I didn't know who that was. There were 2 bedrooms, and so she had invited a friend to move in. But I met that person very briefly a while after they'd already been living there.
Are you at a good
Yeah,
breaking point?
I
just
think
wanna
this is a
make sure.
good
Okay,
stopping point.
That's fine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 5 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and break for the evening. Again, do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay? And we'll see you in the morning at 10 a.m. All right? Thank you. You're excused for the day. Thank you.
Anyway, this is about perfect time to end it for me. Probably I'll be waking up for lunch. I'll be waking up for lunch. Hold on. I'll be waking up for breakfast in like 2 minutes and everyone will be. So you guys, thank you so much for stopping by. And yeah, I wish I could cover more, but I'm going to work in like 2 hours and my internet's pretty bad. But anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I'll have a video out later, maybe even one on Evan Rachel Wood, but who knows? I really having trouble getting out like non-Johnny content. There's just so much to talk about every single day. So I'm trying to work it in. But yeah, see you guys later. Have a good one.